Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Damar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechphilly.com. We have a very, very special guest with us, Rabbi Moshe Mirsky, the Rabbi of Congregation Beth Israel, and our next-door neighbor in Schenectady, Rabbi Mirsky. Welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you. Great to be here.
You light up the electric city.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you've been at Beth Israel how many years?
It's been 10 years. I came in 2004.
Okay, and now you're moving on?
I'm going to be, moving to New Jersey, to Clifton, New Jersey. I'm going to be the chaplain in Daughters of Miriam Center. And
we will miss you.
Yes, it was a very hard decision for us to make. You know, we have formed lots of good relationships here, and with the congregation and with the people of the Capital District. I know each of you independently, and it was our main concern was our son's Jewish education, that he go to a Jewish yeshiva high school, which is lacking over here.
And you're going to be living in Passaic, which is near Clifton?
Yes.
And Passaic has got another connection with the Capital District, and I guess Rabbi Gewirtz, who predates Rabbi Bamser, was in Massachusetts, right? Brookline, right. I believe, and now he's retiring and moving to Passaic also. So
right.
We're going to have another Albany connection.
I'm somewhat, as they say in Yiddish, shtickle mishpocha. I'm a little related to Rabbi Gewirtz.
In what way?
He's my brother's father-in-law.
Your brother's father, okay.
Yeah.
That's a connection. Listen, even though you've been in Schenectady 10 years, tell us a little bit about, if you can, the history of Jewish life in Schenectady, or at least if you know that much. 10 years isn't that long. And tell us the present state, what's up to and what you tried to accomplish in 10 years and where it's going.
Wow.
Forward to.
Okay.
Big question. You
okay.
got 2 minutes.
It's only a
to
half-hour show.
You got 2 minutes to tell you that.
Yeah. Well, there is, the Jews have been in Schenectady at least since the 1800s. Our shuls, our synagogue's roots go back to the 1800s. There were two congregations, Oav Shalom and Oav Tzedek, which merged in 1955 to form Congregation Beth Israel. My understanding is that each shul was struggling to get a minyan at the time, and so they merged together, and then they built a new, the last shul was on State Street, and then they built a new shul in the place where the Jews were moving to, which is in Niskayuna. And I always thought that it's a small community, but it's a very tenacious group, and I always attributed part of the reason that they can continue to survive and even thrive as a synagogue and as a small Jewish community is because that's what they've been struggling since the beginning. So they know what it means to that if somebody calls you for a minyan, for services, they need you for a quorum for services to come for services. They know what it means to go out and to volunteer. We have women in their 70s and 80s who are preparing kiddushes and luncheons and there are those who have stepped up to the plate financially also to donate. And there's a group that has, to their credit, even though we accept people from all different backgrounds, but they specifically want an Orthodox Jewish synagogue which keeps to all the traditions, where there's a full service and there's an emphasis on Shabbat observance, and the men and women are separated by a mechitza, and the food is all strictly kosher, and
you rope off the parking lot.
That's
I mean,
for the past 10 years. Yes, the parking lot has been closed, even though there are many people who drive to synagogue. But since according to Jewish law is the Orthodox interpretation, which we believe is the correct interpretation. So therefore, at least we understand that each person is on their own individual path. Each person is, some might drive to synagogue, some might, not keep kosher. Some, each in their, but each person, if they're coming to the synagogue, it means they're striving for something. But at least the synagogue itself we tried to make that a place of sanctity, and that was my big issue, which they have. I was there for 10 years. I had 2-year contracts, so it was for 5 contracts. So to the people's credit, there was always the overwhelming majority wanted the parking lot open, but they told me that but I told them that at each time that I would only remain if it were closed, and I'm proud of that, for myself, and I'm proud of them as well. It takes a certain type of character, a certain type of humility, I would say, to be able to say, I'm striving for something which is greater than what I am observing right now. So I give them a lot of credit, and I never judge them in any way. I had the privilege of being born to an Orthodox parents, observant, and I went to yeshiva, so I was just following the path. But people here, particularly in Schenectady, we call it, it was a midbar, a relative wilderness, and if there was somebody who never came to synagogue and now he's coming once a week, that's a tremendous thing for a Jew in the modern era, to decide to come closer to God in any way is a huge thing.
I think that's an important point, because a lot of people ask me also, listen, even with a full beard and all that, hey, you're not perfect, and I says, you're right, no one's perfect. So what's the difference? The difference is what you were saying, is just setting standards. At least, these are the standards. And if I do something wrong or I'm not 100%, hey, listen, I'm human and I'm trying, like you say, and trying to be better. But if you lower the standards, say, well, it's good enough. You told me that's my standards, so there's nowhere to strive for anything higher. So that's really the difference. You're right, not everybody is there, but at least they know this is the goal, this is the correct goals to strive for.
Absolutely. The verse says, Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam, the righteous person falls 7 times and gets up. 7 is only a figure of speech. We always fall and get up. I think that's part of the essence of being a Jew.
I heard, again, I'm not here that long also, and I'm from Chicago, not from the capital district. But they say during World War II, that was the height of life in Schenectady, because World War II and GE, of course, is your main... still is, I don't even know.
Right.
GE was always a main factory there, and obviously they had so many war goods that they needed, so you couldn't even walk down the street. These are the stories people tell me.
Right. By the way, I can tell you from Chicago, by the way you say Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a foreigner over here.
Yeah, the GE, I would say perhaps what was called the heyday, certainly of Beth Israel, that is to say the synagogue which formed in 1955, was in that post-war era when GE at one point had, they talk about, 40,000 employees, and now obviously there's much less. I still have GE retirees who are members of the synagogue. Certainly now the financial picture always affects the synagogues. So we hope, just like everybody else in the capital region, that maybe the nanotech and the
or a casino,
casino or the global foundries. Although as a rabbi, I have certain feelings about casinos.
Well,
I think.
Because when I go to Atlantic City or I go to other places where there's a casino, I know when Yontiv or Shabbos ends, because all the yarmulkes come in,
Well, I would say like this, though. It's an interesting question, the question of gambling and Jewish law. You can some people even extend the question to synagogues or schools will have raffles, or, that's a form of gambling. In short,
bingo,
bingo was an important question as well. The shul certainly had a bingo game in the past, but I think it's just something to keep in mind, that the way a city thrives on gambling is because people are losing money. And usually if people are losing, a casual gambler, so we could understand, we had a good time at the slot machines, we lost $50. But you have people who are addicts, and people
losing
who
thousands and tens of thousands.
People who their families are broken, and it brings in violence, and gambling has been a source of many bad things. I guess it's a sign, the fact that not just Schenectady, but many cities and towns are putting up proposals for casinos. It really speaks to the lack of jobs in the area, the desire to have jobs. They'll take the jobs from wherever they can get. But I don't imagine it's in our control as to whether there'll be a casino in Schenectady or not. If there is, and Jews are coming, we'll try to get them to come to shul.
We had actually the head of the proctors here just recently.
Philip Morris.
Yeah, we're interviewing everybody.
Yeah.
And he says actually it's growing. So is there life in downtown Schenectady? Even though obviously the casino's not there, if they're ever going to come.
Put it this way, I think the Schenectady, and I'm really,
I've seen you at Proctor's.
Yeah, I've been to. We were at the Yitzhak Perlman concert together. Yeah, we've been to. I love going to downtown Schenectady. There's a beautiful Hampton Inn there. My in-laws stay over there. I don't. I view myself basically as the rabbi of the Jewish community, and he happened to know something about Schenectady, the city of Schenectady. It seems to me that they're certainly working hard to try to keep it vibrant, to try to keep it from sinking. And yeah, I think that there's some success. I think that downtown district is a nice place, and certainly Central Park is beautiful. The area which I happen to live in the city of Schenectady, and we like it very much.
We should say that Beth Israel is right on the border. It's in Niskayuna, but it's right on the border of city of Schenectady. So while the rabbi lives in Schenectady, it's still walking distance to the synagogue, and it's only a few blocks.
Don't have to cross the border to customs over the border.
And Niskayuna is certainly
but Central Park
well.
is beautiful, and
Central
you got
Park
the.
Is beautiful.
Did you officiate over a wedding?
I've done weddings at the Rose Garden in Central Park. I tell my friends from New York, I said you can get married in Central Park. I don't know at the time for $25. And because you have people there who are paying tens and thousands of dollars for a wedding. That's part of my pleasures of being in a small town, as I got to perform weddings for people on my front lawn, and be there for people who would ordinarily not have a rabbi there for them.
I tell you, I didn't know Rabbi Mirsky before he came here, but we have a connection before Rabbi came here. He was the assistant rabbi at the synagogue in Brooklyn, Mill Basin, where I was bar mitzvah.
All right.
So while we missed each other, we still have common roots going back to Flatbush Park Jewish Center.
That's right.
And the rabbi who founded the synagogue, Rabbi David Halpern, was still the rabbi. He was the rabbi there for 60 years. So when I was bar mitzvah, he was there. When Rabbi Mirsky was under him, that was good. That was still continuity. And we've been going down to Brooklyn for the synagogue dinners at Flatbush Park Jewish Center.
From time to time, yes. Actually, I learned many things from Rabbi Halpern. Some of them I didn't realize until I became a rabbi of my own synagogue. One of the things was having an annual dinner. So we've had an annual dinner. It started with the 50th anniversary. They didn't have it that much, and we've had, in my 10 years here, we've had seven annual dinners, which have been both excellent fundraisers and also morale boosters, and also gave recognition to the people who deserve it, or the people who really give of themselves for the synagogue.
It's an interesting point. I mean, we have that in general in Albany, but what both Mark and you were saying, I mean, I'm from Chicago also, but the point is I'm trying to make, you come from a very large Jewish community to come to, I mean, comparatively, someone was just asking me, they weren't Jewish, so they said, well, what's the Jewish community like in Albany? I said, well, it's nothing compared to New York City. But it is viable. On the other hand, we do have a school, and there is a kosher market, and there's a shul. Maybe there's not 10 on the block like New York, but obviously, if you want to, there is enough. But it's an interesting comparison that you go from a big city to a small city, and now you're going back to a big Jewish community in Passaic.
Right, and into a different type of a role
Clifton
altogether. Yeah. I certainly learned many things. And gained much from my 10 years about being in a small community.
Can you share some of those?
Sure. One thing is just if the Jewish community is so small, or if your synagogue has 100 members and you don't have such a large infrastructure, you really have to reach out to places that you wouldn't ordinarily reach out to. And I reached out, of course, to all of I have relationships with the Chabad and
At
with
Union College.
all the Chabad at
All
Union
the
College.
Chabad.
Rabbi Simon and I have collaborated, and Rabbi
Okay.
Reuben. All of the I don't know how many Chabads there are now in the capital region. I'll leave that to you.
8 or 9.
That's it. But and with my conservative and reform colleagues, and I even had the opportunities I spoke to an interfaith group of mostly Christians, and one of the things which was a dilemma for me was speaking in the church in a night to honor Israel in the Light of the World Church. I did some great grappling and consulted with some of my mentors about it, and I decided to do that. I don't know if I would do it again. No, there were certain there were certain dilemmas which I still have, but I'm just giving you the picture of how widely I reached and that people reached out to me. Tonight I'm going to be honored by the Jewish Community Center. Now in New York City there are plenty of Jewish community centers. I never really related to them in that kind of way. When I was a kid I went to the YMHA to go swimming, but to think of the Jewish Community Center as a resource, or your non-Orthodox colleagues as a resource, or even to the priest across the street as someone to talk to. I mean, these are things that I'm going to take with me to my new position.
Well, I find it very interesting that one of your members, one of the members who sits in the Orthodox synagogue, his wife is the assistant rabbi at the Reform synagogue.
That's true. Yeah, I don't want to speak about specific
I'm not
people.
saying,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not mentioning names,
Right.
but I'm just saying that, I just see, you talk about a mixed marriage. No, but I talk about, that we do reach out and we do have overlapping, and we, it's just not, oh, you're in this, here's the dividing line here and here's the dividing line. I mean, we do cross borders with each other.
Right.
And I think that's an example in one household in particular where that crosses the border. I mean, and there are people who, from whether it's conservative or reform synagogues, that they do come to Beth Israel and they do respect the fact that you sit on opposite, there's a mechitza, and you sit on opposite, you sit on separate sides.
Men and women are separate.
Men and women are separate. And I just think that there's a respect from other synagogues when they come into your house of worship, that they respect the rules in your house of worship, and that they're not protesting and saying, well, I don't believe in that, so I'm going to do this.
From time to time we get some protests also, but we work it out. I mean, that's another thing you learn also. In the big cities, you can pick and choose. Oh, I'll deal with this one, let him go to the other shul. Over here, when you're in Schenectady, or even in Albany, I think for that matter, you learn to value every single Jew with whatever shortcomings or drawbacks they might have.
I think that's important. I try to convince people, and we're from New York, goes the other way also. Here, I say, if you show up for synagogue, so there's 100 people, there's 99. All right, your friends like you, but you're not really, putting any significance in your attendance to the Jewish community. Here, if you go into a small city, you're something special goes the other way, and it doesn't convince people, but, like you say, it goes the other way, that people would feel validated so much. Oh, thank you for showing up. I mean, who says that in a big city? No.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, they say when I go down to Flatbush Park, they go, oh, thank you for showing up. You came all the way down. Yeah. What is that, near Canada, from Albany? It's like, and they look at me. That's one of the reasons why I started my website, is because when I would go back to Brooklyn, they would say, well, what's up there? Is it a vast wasteland of Jewish life and culture? And I would say, no, there isn't. So I started the website to show people outside of this area, and even people within the area, that we have in the 16 county capital district, 50 congregations, over 800 Jewish professionals and business owners, that we have Jewish education opportunities, we have 30-run Jewish organizations, and we are vital and vibrant. And I wanted to show that people shouldn't take us as being a small hick area, that they can come up here no matter where they are on the spectrum of Judaism, and people can find a place for themselves.
Right.
And I really feel passionate about that. And I'm hoping that, through whatever, through Hashem's working, that I can, this will take off, and people will actually get the sense that if you don't want to live in a major metropolitan area, the capital district is a really good choice for you.
Well, besides even that, I say that I've always harp on, because I have kids in New York City, just to buy a house.
Well, okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, that
Absolutely.
is something, that people are in apartment buildings, and
Right.
they can't get out for $1 million, $1.5 million. I says, for a few $100,000, you can live like a king out in
That's
the
right.
capital district.
Right.
It's an important point, I think.
I think we have what to learn from the bigger communities also. Sometimes, you talk about the roots of Schenectady, like the type of people who came to even America in the 1800s. Often there was an idea of, the Torah is the Torah, but over here it's different. We'll do whatever we can, and that's good enough, which can turn into a certain apathy Jewishly. So I think once in a while I like having a group from New York come, or an intensive speaker, to some cross pollination. To take place, to see that intensity. I mean, obviously, the fact that we don't have a high school is reflective of the fact that somewhere in the community, the thought is, all right, you can go through elementary school, and then that's good enough. And then what happens with those kids after they go to the public high school is that we lose a lot of them.
Well,
So-
we had at Congregation Beth Abraham Jacob in Albany, there was an OU rabbi who came in to talk to us about a Hebrew high school. And the conclusion was that no matter what type of curriculum you're going to set up in the Hebrew high school, there's going to be a percentage, probably 30%, that won't like it. And that they will move out. There'll be a 5-year shakeout period of people who will be attracted to this type of curriculum, and others that will be repelled and will leave the area. And so you're going to get probably more people coming here than you will leaving, but you will certainly have a 5-year shakeout period of people who are not happy with the curriculum. So, you can't please everyone, but, they do have Mifgash, which is a Hebrew high school.
Community Hebrew high school.
That means
And
essentially the kids are going to public high schools and they're having a program. Well, it's happened to the Hebrew schools overall, and the Hebrew school is not what it used to be. Kids used to go 4 or 5 days a week, and their social group was primarily that. But basically, Hebrew schools are now, if you're lucky, the kids will come maybe once a week on a Sunday or something.
And that's what Mifgash is. I
Right,
believe Wednesday
right,
and Sunday
right.
or something like
Right,
that. Yeah.
and they talk about camps and going to Israel, but to me, I think that I think the research bears it out that that an intensive all day Jewish day school education is a crucial tool, and there are many people. There are many people in the New York, perhaps a big majority of the people in the big cities, who might consider coming, living a more laid-back lifestyle and having that small town type of feeling. But that would be the the sticking point. They don't want to. We thought of they don't.
Yet Rochester has a Hebrew high school.
It's hours away. Yeah.
But Rochester's been able to maintain that for a while. It's sort of like if you build it, they will come. And we just haven't built it because we fight internally about what the curriculum should be. So this OU rabbi pretty much said, you have to decide what you want to do, because otherwise everyone's going to leave because of education, because of that education void.
Yeah. I don't know the particular OU rabbi you're talking about, but I think it's a matter of will, and of course part of it is circular, because there's been no high school, so then the people who would want a high school are not here.
Right.
Listen, we've seen that people family comes, and unless they are, I have to congratulate the Chabad. The Chabad rabbis are here to stay, right? But the people who are here in different in capacities, whether they're working for the state or doing research, ultimately there's always that question in mind. What are you going to do when you get to the high school? And we've seen families move away because of that. So that's and by the way, I think the small community has excellent organization as far as the federation, and the fundraising and all the schools and the synagogues, institutions that you mentioned. I think we're very, very well organized and have a community. But sometimes it's like if one more of those organizations would be Yeshiva High School, I think that would be a good thing.
Excellent. I know. I just.
Yeah.
You need a critical mass, but that's the same. Maybe the nanotech, when you get an influx of 20 families coming in, it really would change the whole picture.
Well, there's 150 Israelis that are either on the complex now or going to be, and I don't know how the Jewish community is tapping into. They have a Capital District Board of Rabbis, but I don't know how effective they've been in terms of reaching inside the nanotech. It's very difficult.
Well, I've been a past president or past vice president of the Board of Rabbis, but the board, that's not the main
it's not
role of the Board of Rabbis. But I think the federation is honored. Often I found what we do is we get all kinds of rumors. GE's bringing 1,000 PhDs, or Nanotech is bringing 5,000 Israelis.
No, 150 Israelis.
150 Israelis. Yeah. Okay. So
I don't know if they're all Jewish. I don't know if they're Palestinian Israelis or Jewish Israelis.
I've seen some. Listen. I understand Saratoga is getting somewhat of a boom. Near the Malta plant, whatever I've seen.
Global Foundries.
The Global Foundries. So,
but how's the transition going at Beth Israel? I mean, did you meet the new rabbi coming?
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to talk about the new rabbi yet. I don't think it's totally public knowledge. But suffice it to say, I have a good relationship with my board, and I shared with them my process for around a year now, and then to their credit, they understood,
But have you had interaction with the?
I've had some interaction with my successor. I don't know if I'm at liberty to mention his name yet.
Can I? No, you prefer I don't.
What's that?
Can I, or you prefer I don't?
Right.
Okay.
For now. But no. To their credit,
that's a friendly transition.
Yeah.
Always. Yes,
it's I'm leaving. My leaving was my choice, and it's on good terms, and I'm being honored. And they honored me in 2012, and they're making me a kiddush this Shabbos, and beyond that, it's the feeling of the congregation's part was mutual. That we're sad to see you leave, but we understand, and I guess that's the best you can hope for. And to their credit, they're hiring another full-time rabbi. When I was placed here in 2004, so somebody told me, not just anybody, but there's somebody important in the Jewish communal world told me that the synagogue probably has another 2 or 3 years to go. So I took every year after that as a blessing, and now they're going to have more years under a full-time rabbi. And then people informed me that people were writing off Schenectady already 25 years ago.
That's right.
So
keeps on going.
But it keeps on going. And you know what? People shouldn't be writing off anyone. They should be supporting. And if they think that something is going to be written off, they should be doubly supportive and financially in other ways than to just say, oh, we're writing it off, let them go, and we got to move on. I mean, they should be doubly supportive to say, no, we shouldn't.
Well, they're doing something right.
They're doing
something
right. I mean, there's around roughly
100
100 family members. We've had those roughly same 100 family, not the same people, but that same number since I've been there. Now, many people, older people, have passed away or moved away, but God has sent us the new people.
Well, that's your good work. We're out of time, Rabbi Mirsky. We wish you the blessing for everything good. You've done a great job in Schenectady, and I'm sure you're going to continue in where you go in New Jersey. So, like I say, really, you say God helps, but God helps those who help themselves. You've done a great job, and keep the the Schenectady Jewish community not only, surviving, but like you said, thriving. So good health and everything you do with a lot of success in your future.
And I'm sure our
Amen.
friendship will continue, and I'll come down to Jersey to visit with you. You won't get rid of me.
Okay.
And please, all the best of success in your future.
We will stay in touch. Amen.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go off now to David Nessenoff. We have a
What happened?